this video, we're going to talk about the difference between HubSpot views and HubSpot lists. There's a lot of confusion around these two sort of areas of HubSpot, and often people use the same language to mean the other area. And so in this video, I'm just going to quickly go through and explain the difference between the two and why it's great to try and call the views, and the lists, just so that everyone is clear inside your company. My name's Tristan, I'm from Terrific, and we are HubSpot experts. And I've been working in HubSpot for about 8 years, working in the HubSpot platform, and working for other companies and helping them with HubSpot. And this business, Terrific, a HubSpot consultancy, has been running for over 4 years now. So we have a lot of experience with HubSpot, and hopefully this video will help you also gain a bit more experience and understanding, which will help your work on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let's jump in and have a look. This is our demo account you can see here. As you can see, we're on the contacts screen, and this contacts page, which is it's called the contacts index page, is contacts like this. And here we can see this is a view, and this is showing us all the contacts in the database. And then separately from this, we've got lists, which I can open up in another window. I already have one here. Let's go to this one, and we can see lists is like this. Lists are more like marketing lists, used for sending emails and things like that, but you can also use them for all kinds of other functionality in HubSpot as well. But views are a way to manage the data, manage the contact records and what you see in this contacts page, for more often managing sort of one by one from a sales perspective, and also allowing you to kind of filter and save the view to make it more convenient for you as well. So for example, if we stay in views for a minute here, we can actually change any of these values up here, and advanced filters is probably the most common. And we can look at any value that we have for a property, for a contact property in this case. And so we can look at, what they've been doing, their activity, any sort of information relating to that contact. We can, for example, do a search by country, and maybe you'll have a drop down for this, but this demo is in text-based, so I type in Australia, and I can see all the contacts that have Australia as their country. And if we scroll over to the far right, we can see the country column here for these contacts. So we've got 62 records here, or 62 contacts that exist. Let's say we wanted to move those columns around to make it easier. We can go to that country column like this, and we can either drag it up, or we can actually click move to top, and it'll put it here, and then we can just arrange it as we like. In this case, country might be a bit too broad, and it might not be necessary because we already have everyone as Australia, so we may not need to then have a column for country. But let's say we just say the value is known. So country region there's a record which is known. Now that will make more sense. We can see here we've got Australia, we've got New Zealand, we have other countries. We can reorder this column alphabetically, like so. And then we can save this view as a new view. And we can call this, country known. Let's say a country known view. So now we have this view saved here, and then this allows us to always return to these 144 records. Let's say we want to limit this. Actually, we want to say country is Australia or New Zealand. So only for those that have those two records. So we can see here that country contains either exactly Australia or New Zealand. So we'll see the Australia and we'll see the New Zealand only. And then we can change this view We'll save as new, and we'll call this AU NZ contacts, let's say, whatever you'd like. And now we can see only these contacts, but let's say we don't want to view them alphabetized by country, but instead we want to view them alphabetized by surname. We can go here and we can click that twice. And now we see the names alphabetized by surname, and then the country is, more random depending on those contacts. We could even organize them by the persona that we've set up for these contacts. Some don't have personas. Let's add another filter and say only those that have a persona is known. So we remove anyone that we haven't processed yet, let's say. Like that, okay. And now we want to order by surname again. Actually, let's order by persona. So it's going to group them by the different personas that we've set up. And now most importantly, let's save the view. And this is going to update this AU NZ contacts view. We click save. We only use the save as if we want to create a new view. And now we've got this here. We can remove this. And if we drag this one over to the far left, this becomes our default view. So we can always jump back and see all the contacts. But if we want to just look at the ones we're most interested in, we can just go here to that view, like so. And if we wanted to look at all the different views we've set up, let's say we accidentally close this and we do want to get it back, we can type in it shows up here, but we could type it in here and it would show like this. We can see created by me, and then we can see that view appear here now. We can drag that over. Let's say we want to rename that to like ANZ contacts. We can go to all views, we find the view, and we can control everything with the view actually here. We can delete views, create a report based on this view. We can clone the view and then make changes to it, to the second one. We can export. We can manage the sharing, so we can change whether it goes from private to everyone. And just on this note as well, if we share it with everyone, it doesn't actually mean that we're sharing the view at that time. It just means that if we wish to share the URL for this view, if someone else clicks that URL, they'll be able to see the same view. Whereas if they click a URL that's set to private, or a view that's set to private, they wouldn't be able to view your view. So this is everyone, so that's good. And we can change the name, rename that. Get rid of this part, let's say. And so it's this URL here. If you copy that and send that to someone else, then they'll be able to, in their HubSpot account, they'll be able to open that up. Anyone in your company will be able to open that up and view this particular view. They won't be able to make edits to the view, but they can then save it as a new view for themselves if they want. Otherwise, it will always have your saved views. We can close these other ones, for example. You can have a look. My contacts, it's just showing me the ones that have me as the contact owner, for example. We can easily filter by any contacts that have been created in a certain time period, let's say. Let's say last quarter, this quarter, like so. We can always clear all views as well. Let's go back to our ANZ contacts. So this is views, the power of views. You can see and edit the details of contacts as well if you have this feature turned on for your HubSpot account. And it's just more functional. There's more functionality in terms of like engaging with the records in some way. We can assign them to other contact owners. We can bulk edit details. For example, we could update the personas to a different persona. All those four contacts together, we can delete. We can create tasks relating to these contacts. We can add them to lists, static lists, which I'll share in a minute. We can even enroll them in workflows, and we can add the communication subscriptions. So there's so much here, as well as export and everything. So the big benefit of views is that you get your columns saved, and they will stay there, and you can save the view. That'll stay there every time. and you can easily share this view with others using this method. That's the benefit of views. Now comparing that to lists, we can see with lists, there are two kinds of lists, and lists allow us to populate or collect a group of records, a group of contacts or companies, and we can use them in various ways. Under lists, we go here to create a list, and there's two kinds of lists, which I'll cover a bit more detail in another video. But these lists allow us to either upload or generate a list of static contacts, so contacts that won't change, the list will remain the same, or active list, which allow us to have a list of contacts that automatically updates or dynamically updates, like so. Let's have a look. Where we can set certain values or filters for who should be in this list. So for example, we can look at just those that have the country for their contact value, Australia, like what we're doing before, and New Zealand, let's say. And we can do more complicated filtering here. So we can look at just those that have this country, and let's say their persona, their contact property persona. Let's say it's just these two. We can see them in our list. But even more powerfully, we can also look at and any other object, associated object information, which is basically like the companies, the deals, anything associated with these contacts. So we can look at companies, deals, invoices, line items, anything you're running through HubSpot. Product properties, quote properties, ticket properties, activity properties, very valuable. So we can look at things like if we've had a meeting with them at a certain time, if there are tasks already set with that contact, if there's been an email sent to them, a one-to-one email, a sales email, for example, which includes the text in the body, Christmas or whatever you want to say there, right? Anyone that we send a Christmas card to, let's say, and there's a Christmas email, anything mentioned about Christmas, that person would be added to this list. And then you can easily make adjustments as well. So let's say we wanted to have everyone who's Australia and CEO and everyone who's New Zealand and content creator. So rather than starting fresh and clicking add and then putting it all together, we can clone it like this and just make changes much more quickly. So we can remove the New Zealand, we can remove the content creator part from there, we can go here, remove the Australia, we can remove the CEO part from here, and now it's going to give us a list of just the Australia CEO personas and just the New Zealand content creator personas, for example. So this is just a preview, but if I click Save List, then it will start to populate this list. And it can sometimes take a couple of minutes, or it can take longer if it's a more complicated list. So that's the benefit of the lists. And then this list, because it's an active list, it will automatically be updating. And so we can have this list here. But let's say we go back and we've got a static list. The benefit of a static list is that you can add and remove people from this list. The active list is dynamic. So it will be, let me just refresh this page here. The active list will change on its own based on these values here. So if any new contacts come into the system and they have these values for these properties, then they'll automatically be added to this list. If anyone changes and their properties change here, their values change here, then they would automatically be removed from this list. So that's the active list. It's dynamic. But the static list, if we look at this little static sales list here, this is a manual list. So this list has 51 contacts. They will stay there until someone removes them from this list or adds new people to this list. So let's say these three are wrong and they shouldn't be on this list. I'm not interested in them anymore, so I can remove them from this list, like so. And then we can also open this list in the contacts view. So let's go back to our contacts page. Here we are. So let me just go back to the start here. We'll go to all contacts. And then I can even add an advanced filter here to say if they're a member of a list membership, and the name of the list, let's say it's this new one that we just created, or this existing sales list that we just edited, and I save that, then I can see just the 51 records for this list. And then I can play with the columns and get them as I want them. Let's say I have some other values that are more important, like phone number. I want them to be just after the email, so we'll put that there. Can apply that. And then, so I'm filtering just this list, this manual list, and I've got the columns the way I want them. And then I can save as view. And we can call this list the same name just to keep it nice and clear. Let's say leads or whatever it's relating to, so we can save that. And now we have this list in this editable format. So you have the raw list, let's say, of everyone that's being saved here, being added and removed. But then from this list you can control how the columns are looking and keeping it all nice and clean. This would be my suggestion for the way to manage it. And then you can move this over here and put it here as one of your key lists. And then if you want to add more people to that list, you can just tick them on all contacts, go to more, add to static list. And there's our list here. Find your list, or you can search for it. You know, there's only one list here that we're looking at in the demo, and then those 3 contacts have been added to that list. So if we go over to that list here, or we go up to here, it might take a minute to come through, but there'll be additional contacts added. We removed some as well before. Let's have a look. Let's refresh this. And so it's that easy to update these lists. And that's kind of that's a quick overview and comparison of using views versus lists. There's a lot more that we can go into, and I will go through in some other videos, but this is just a quick overview and comparison of using the views functionality and what is a view versus the lists. And with these same lists, we can then use this for doing things like sending emails, having the email list, controlling some functionality of the smart elements, smart content in landing pages. We can also control the subject lines in emails as well, potentially change them based on which list it's related to. We can also use lists for ads and creating new lists from people that interact with ads, or running the ads to only show to people on certain lists. For example, we can also use lists to trigger workflows. So let's say we add someone to one of these lists, they get automatically added to a list, or they get manually added to the static list. Then that could trigger them to start a workflow and then go through an email, a series of emails, or any other kind of workflow that you set up. And we can also use these lists for reporting and for dashboards. So we could limit what we see in a report based on just, in a custom report, based on just these certain lists that you want to look at as well. So lists are very powerful. There's a lot of functionality, and that's why the list is so important. And then views, equally so, are very important in terms of your day-to-day managing and viewing the individual contacts in a quick and efficient manner. So if you have so many contacts, it's too many for you to sort of be considering in one screen. Then you can add the various filters, change the columns the way you want, and then save your view, and then move that view over to the far left, and then save it as your default view. And then all the other views remain here, and you can easily find them when you need to with the search, or clicking all views, and then just drag them into the spot you want to save them there. So I hope that's been useful. Please subscribe for more HubSpot tips and tricks and tutorials as we keep publishing them in the future. And please share any comments or questions, and I'd be happy to help answer those as well. So, okay, thank you so much for watching. Look forward to talking again and speaking to you all soon. Cheers.